welcome back to the Cover 3 podcast here on CBS Sports. That's Tom Fornelli. That's Bud Elliott. I'm Chip Patterson coming to you live at youtube.com/cover3 and everywhere you get your podcasts on demand. Thanks for hanging out. Smash that subscribe, smash that like, and come and join us in the chat, a.k.a. the Cover 3 Tailgate, where Brett jumped in at 8:54 a.m. Eastern Time. And Brett, it's a special day. Why? Because Brett says it's his birthday. Brett says, it's my birthday. Can I get a ranking of the best birthday ages? Ooh, snap call on a Monday. Best birthday ages. Go.
21.
18.
18.
Yeah. 16.
Yeah.
And then none of them matter after that.
I think like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are all like, those all hit. That's a big deal when you're that age.
Yeah, I think though, like once you get past 21, is there really another birthday that matters? Like in a good way?
Probably like 80 or 90. You're like, man, I'm really happy to be here.
Hell yeah. There we go. That's right.
or are you like, oh God, I don't know if I have any more of these left.
That's fair.
No. I hope to see those days, and I hope I've got that kind of attitude. You know, just like, yeah, we made it. Good job. Yeah, tailgate jumping in 25 for the rental car. While I remember that being a sort of a turning of the page, at least in terms of like trying to figure out travel logistics. Sure, you know, that's definitely significant, but definitely not one of the best birthday ages. I mean, nothing else comes with 25 beyond the rental car, right?
No.
Okay. And we're not going to even try to make an argument for anything beyond anything in the upper 20s to 30s or anything like that.
I don't think so.
No. I mean, they're all the same from that point on.
Right. That's fair. So yeah, happy birthday, Brett. We appreciate you coming to hang out, and we hope that it is a wonderful Monday for you. We
Brett
know.
Say how old he was?
Oh, yeah, Brett, let us know. You still around?
Brett, are you like, if you're like 47 and you're celebrating your birthday, Brett, I got some questions.
Oh, no. If people want to be a birthday diva, I will let you be a birthday diva. I am not a birthday diva, but that is a personality.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
And you've got to know who in your friends and family are birthday divas so that you can treat them accordingly. It's really like a condition. You know, you need to be able to understand how to handle them so that everybody can have a good time together.
I have surrounded myself with friends who text you 2 days after your birthday with, oh, hey, by the way, happy birthday. Like that's how we roll. So
I was at a family friend's funeral a couple weeks back. It was early April, end of March, and I was standing in a circle, and I realized a couple of my friends, I don't remember their exact dates, but they were all March birthdays, and I just gave them like, oh, what's up? My March birthdays. Dean, niece, how we doing? Yeah, just like quick little high fives there. That was how I kept up. I just remembered your birthday is March ? And by the end of March, I was able to deliver a happy birthday high five. Nice. I hope that still makes me a good friend. Okay, I know we've got a lot of good friends in the tailgate. We got a lot of good questions that we will continue to get to. Many of them are in fact related right to the NFL draft from over the weekend. Should we just jump right in on this one? Like, not make them wait. Probably, unless Bud, you've got really good billable hours locked and loaded on Kentucky and the LLC.
I say we pass on that probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's something we've discussed for a long time. We've used like the, University of Tennessee Medical Center is not actually owned by Tennessee. It's just a partnership. They use the name. It's the branding. They do a lot of things together, but technically the ownership is separate. That's kind of how I feel on this.
Okay, well then let's do it. Let's get right to the thing that was right there on Friday for our hangout. As you came and joined us at youtube.com/cover3, we were discussing, okay, well, Shedeur Sanders was not a first-round pick. Where will he go? Well, it was not in the second round. It was not in the third round. It was not even in the fourth round, but instead in the fifth round to the Cleveland Browns. And B. Mahoney jumped in the tailgate at 9:06 a.m. Eastern time. He said, am I missing something with Sanders? With him, is he not good enough to be his day starter? He will need to develop and potentially a backup. That would not sit well with him. Not worth it for a backup. I mean, he's got all kinds of questions right here. And I guess the first part is the beginning of it. Judge your surprise.
That he fell to the fifth?
Yes.
somewhat surprised. I mean, it's the thing was with Shedeur, he was either going to be a first round pick, like he was going to go by the Steelers, or you had no idea where he was going to go. And that's pretty much what happened. I did not think he would last until the 5th. I did not think he would not only be behind Dylan Gabriel, but drafted by the same team who took Dylan Gabriel. But I think that there was a lot of stuff going into it. And then I think in the question mark, or in the question there, it mentioned, would he be good being a backup? Will it sit with him well? Honestly, I don't want a quarterback on my team who does think it's great to be a backup. So that's not it. I think it's more the media attention that is going to come with Shedeur being a backup quarterback for your team. And then also with the fan base, because the minute Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett or whoever the hell wins that starting job does anything wrong, people are going to be screaming for Shedeur.
I mean, look, Dion got it right. He said if someone would be a top 5 pick, he just meant top 5 rounds, right?
Damn.
Look, so I am pretty surprised because I don't have a lot of insider NFL info, and I haven't reached out to, or I was not reaching out to folks behind the scenes. But we have covered Colorado stuff, and so I'm basing my stuff on basically what do the media think, And I tweeted this on Saturday. I said, look, my hunch, and at this point it was just a hunch. I now know this is actually true because I had some people reach out to me behind the scenes who do cover the NFL. Is that more NFL media knew about it, meaning the stuff that McShay mentioned, the fact that he was conducting himself like he was a top 5 talent. And, like McShay said, didn't prepare properly for the Giants interview. And if you've seen the Hard Knocks session, you see Giants coach Brian Daboll, put those guys through, kind of through the ringer there on the chalkboard. And as McShay reported for his podcast, Shedeur took offense that the Giants were like, dude, how do you come to a job interview unprepared? And, we talked about this on the Friday reaction. If you actually were a top 5 talent player, they probably let you get away with some of that. Although maybe not to that extent. If it was as bad as some people are reporting, then that's pretty bad. But I said, look, I think more NFL media knew about it. But given the coordinated attacks, if you get as media, if you say anything negative about the Sanders operation, right, you get called a racist. There's a lot of stuff that comes at you. I just think maybe they think it's not worth it, and they'll let the draft do the talking, and then they'll just, instead of reporting it beforehand, explain it afterwards. And I had a couple people be like, yeah, dude, actually, behind the scenes, that's spot on. So they just didn't want to deal with it, and they slowly moved them down their mock drafts. I think more media knew about this behind the scenes than is letting on. And I don't blame them. It's a pain in the ass to speak honestly about this operation because you get called a bunch of stuff. It's crazy.
If you were a general manager, would you have taken him before the 5th round?
No.
I didn't have to. I mean, that's the other thing too. When it comes to a draft, if I'm the Browns or the Steelers or whoever wanted to take a quarterback, and all the other teams that I feel like are going to be drafting a quarterback in this draft have taken one, there's really no need for me to rush. I could pick other. It's just like when you're a fantasy football draft. If you've got the tight end spot left and everybody that picks before you pick again has a tight end, you're going to wait to draft that tight end because he's still going to be there. So you're going to take the other position. So no, I think that if you're doing it from a draft operation perspective, there was no reason to go early. Because if you were that convicted on him, you would have taken him earlier.
Right.
Jonathan Jones reported after the 1st round, going into the 2nd round, that his understanding was that most teams had him evaluated as a 2nd round talent. Just the talent, the evaluation had him as a 2nd rounder. I would not have let him get out past Friday. I would have drafted him based on his talent in a 2nd or 3rd round if I was a general manager. I don't think that I would allow. I don't think that I would allow it to get to the point where you were selecting Shedeur Sanders among the other players that were around there.
I understand that. I had Shedeur as the number 2 quarterback on my board. I can understand taking Jackson Dart ahead of him. I can even kind of understand taking Tyler Shuck ahead of him. But Dylan Gabriel going ahead of him made no sense to me. But I had Kyle McCord, who went in the 6th round. I had him ranked ahead of Jackson Dart. I had him ranked ahead of Tyler Shuck. So for me, again, I think that part of it is just the way it works. If you're the GM and you've got an inkling, I want to draft Shedeur, I know I don't have to go. I don't have to hurry, especially with the way that the circus has been going with the coverage. Because you know what this is going to be when he's on your team now.
Do you? Or like now that he's 5th round, can you say, hey, we're not shooting a reality show all the time, right? Like you're just another guy on our 53-man roster.
I will say if being drafted behind Dylan Gabriel and then having to share the locker room with Dylan Gabriel is not humbling, I don't know what will be.
So he is.
It does speak about daddy ball though. Like he played for his dad, youth ball, all through prep ball, both college stops. If I'm a coach, like I think that's a concern that you've only ever played for your dad.
Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. We know that
you don't have to list Deshaun. Deshaun's never playing another snap again. He's on the roster, but he's never playing another snap again.
So Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. The 3 quarterbacks on a game day roster sometimes is a rarity. How does that shake out?
I think it will. I mean, it's going to be Pickett and Flacco are going to be competing for the starting job, I think, most likely.
Right.
And then it's going to be Gabriel and Shedeur for the 3rd spot. But I can also see a situation where Pickett or Flacco are traded in preseason because somebody needs a quarterback. But I mean, I don't know. So like, I think you'd have it's going to, who can you get to the practice squad? That's what it'll be coming down
like
to.
Who's willing to be on the practice squad?
No, not willing. Who can you get through waivers to get on your practice squad?
Oh. What do you think, Bud?
So, I don't know. Like Shedeur has never had to compete for a job. And I'm not taking it as a shot. It's like literally like
it's just the truth. Yeah.
And he played very well at Colorado and deserved to be picked higher based on talent. I think the clear reason he slid is because his dad, right? And like and probably people are worried about, is he actually operating in reality? As far as like, you think you're that good of a player, like, does that mean you're not going to work hard when you get in our building?
Sure. Yeah.
So that and Cam Ward calling him out for not working hard in workouts, right? You've seen those videos.
I want to be known as a football player. Come do a song with me. I'm not doing a song with you. I want to be known as a football player.
Right.
Wait, don't you have any hobbies? I don't want anybody to talk about my hobbies. I just want people to talk about me as a football player.
You're taking a water break after the first drill, bro?
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff that Cam was calling him out on if you watch those videos. So I don't know how it's going to turn out because I don't know how Shedeur competes.
Yeah.
I don't.
We
do know that like, because Cleveland screwed up the Deshaun Watson deal so bad, and this is very NFL in the weeds, but I think it's the truth. They basically have to, like, if they have any hope of getting out of this mess without their front office and coaching staff just being fired, they kind of have to hit on a rookie quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But they traded the picks, I think, to set up to take a really talented quarterback next year's draft. So I would play both rookies to see if maybe one of them is slightly better than I think they are, and we'll see what happens. But like next year, the quarterback draft, I think, is better than this one, just talent-wise, and they'll have some spots.
And getting further into the operations aspect of Cleveland's front office, like they signed Joe Flacco, like a week or 2 ago, like as a free agent, but they also traded a pick to Philly to get Kenny Pickett. So they have invested draft capital in Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur. So it's I don't know, man. I think they're desperate to find a quarterback.
So what you're suggesting is, the Joker snap the pool cue, give one half to Dylan Gabriel,
yes.
give one half to Shedeur Sanders, figure out whether it's,
who wants to work on my team?
Who wants it more? Okay. That's it undeniably one of the biggest stories. I do sort of sympathize. This was a big part of the, we don't really commentate on the way that everything else is covered. I thought this point did stand out to me. It does stink for everybody. Not that day 3 picks get a lot of airtime anyway, but it does stink that as your name is showing up on screen with your family and everything else, the desk is fighting about Shedeur Sanders.
Yes.
Like that seemed to be an unfortunate aspect of this, and some collateral damage to the NFL, deciding that Shedeur Sanders was not going to be selected in that second round valuation.
I, for one, am shocked that an ESPN live sporting event would be discussing something else other than the game or event they're showing.
Is that those are college football playoff scars that are coming to light even here in April. That's that it do be like that sometimes. What are you saying? Are you thinking about something? Got a haymaker?
No, I don't. No,
Okay.
I there's a lot of unknown. I think Shedeur has some ability, right? He played well at Colorado. There's a lot of unknowns. Like he has never had to compete for a job. It's been handed to him, so we don't know.
I will. I'll offer one last thing. I don't have a stance, and I
Wait,
don't.
what did Reese Davis do to Mel Kiper? The chat saying he bodied
Well,
him.
he just shut him off. So the way the desk was going, he just came in and had to like. We're not just arguing about this. And he said the draft has spoken. That's what he was pointing out to. He was like, there's no like whether it is fair or not, how this is or is not being held against them. All those things are up for debate, but what's not for debate is that the draft has spoken, because it was what Louis Riddick and Mel Kiper are just sniping at each other from opposite sides of the desk. Then Reese comes in, lays the hammer down. Is like, no, these are the facts. He's right here. So we just need to move forward with it.
I want to give credit to the NFL Network broadcast, because on the first night, they were also very heavily Shedeur centric. But come Friday and Saturday, while it was still obviously a topic, they moved on. And then every once in a while, they would go to Ian Rappaport for just like, what are you hearing on Shedeur? But as far as the rest of the picks, they talked about the picks.
Even after the first round, this was after the first round, I believe. And I know that he was doing a bunch of work for Bleacher Report over the weekend, but our friend Michael Felder, he had a comment. He said, Shedeur Sanders doesn't need the NFL. It is a different power dynamic.
Yeah.
And that's probably one that is unsettling, but it's also probably one that might have emboldened some of the reported behavior going throughout this process. That most
they don't need him.
Sure, but I'm saying like normally
they need Cam Ward.
Normally the power dynamic is such that the player needs the NFL at a way different level than what you had with Shedeur Sanders. And I'm sure that power dynamic probably informed a lot of what happened on both sides. So will be very interesting to see how it goes. The Cleveland Browns, the one of the most, like everybody says, the center of the football world, the Cleveland Browns, with all of their success. We'll be talking about them all through the offseason and all into the opening weeks of the season. Well, coming up on the other side, let's get out of the NFL side of this. What about the college side? What does the 2025 NFL draft tell us about some of the talent that's coming out? Plus, some of our favorite picks. Not necessarily the best picks, just some of our personal favorite picks and more from the 2025 NFL draft. Next.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale! Wonderful goal!
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast. One of the, sort of annual items, ways that we look at this, especially from the college side of this, is the NFL draft broken down by schools, broken down by conferences. It will not surprise you to hear that the SEC led the way with 79 selections in the NFL draft. Big Ten right on their heels with 71. ACC coming in third with 42. The Big 12 had 31. You get 6 from the Mountain West, 6 from the American, 4 from the MAC, 3 from the Big Sky, 2 from Missouri Valley. And then you get an assortment of conferences, both at the FBS and FCS level, all checking in with just one pick. I'm not going to steal the trivia time bit from our friends at the Eye on College Basketball podcast, but I will ask for you. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 power conference schools did not have a player selected in the NFL draft.
Who were they?
How many can you name?
None off the top of my head. I didn't prep for this.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm honestly asking.
Well, there's one SEC school, right?
There's one SEC school.
Wasn't Vandy? They had a long snapper taken.
Yep.
Good job, Barton.
Wasn't Arkansas? Wasn't. Who was it? Curious.
Mississippi State.
That's not really surprising. Okay. Yeah.
There was one school from the Big Ten.
Northwestern.
Northwestern is correct. Those are two of our answers. There were 3 schools from the Big 12, though if you wanted to fight back, and this is a clue, if you wanted to fight back on one because it wasn't where a player finished, I would believe it. I'll take it, I guess.
Ooh. Wasn't where the player finished for the Big 12.
So Cam Ward, Houston.
Well, Cam Ward wasn't at Houston. He was at Incarnate Word.
He was at Incarnate Word, then Washington State. Why did I think he was at Houston first?
Well, because Houston is the right answer, because there's a wide receiver who finished his career in Texas.
Golden. All right, cool.
Started at Houston. Can you name the other 2? I will say this. One of these for sure, I think, will not be in the same situation. Sometimes you don't have any players drafted.
Did Baylor get anybody taken?
No Baylor Bears taken in the NFL draft. And sometimes when you don't have a player drafted, I come back on the other side and I'm like, well, that might not be a bad thing.
Running it back, yeah.
Yeah, bringing it back, everybody. The last one was one of the 4 teams that, similarly, one of the 4 teams that finished tied at first place in the Big 12 standings.
BYU,
Baylor, BYU, Houston, Northwestern, Mississippi State, and then 2 ACC teams.
Ooh. ACC teams.
It could be anybody. Wake had somebody taken, didn't they?
I don't think so. I've got Wake Forest on my list, and I've got Duke on my list. But again, if you wanted to push back on Duke with the Riley Leonard argument, I would.
No, then you're probably right about Wake. I'm just trying to. I thought Wake had somebody taken, but it might have been a guy who transferred.
SMU had 2, yeah. North Carolina.
Stanford have anybody go?
NC State have anybody go?
Yeah. AMA
podcast.
Yeah. Mississippi State, Northwestern, Duke, Wake Forest, Baylor, BYU, and Houston are the power conference schools without a pick this season. Bud, what were some of your takeaways looking at this thing from the college and conference count?
So we talked a lot this year and debated, was the bottom of the SEC just better or was the top worse?
Right.
And the top 2 teams in the SEC had 25 picks. The bottom 10 teams in the SEC had 25 picks combined.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not really buying that the bottom of the SEC was better this year. I don't think that's true. I just think the top teams were not as good. This is probably the final nail in the coffin, for my opinion, for that argument. They just were not as good as they typically are. And I think it was largely quarterback play.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a tweet from Chris Lowe on Saturday morning to kind of go along the same point, which I want to point out that for a lot of these teams, the numbers are still very good compared to most of the country. So this, it's still a very talented league, but he tweeted a huge gap between the top 2 SEC teams and everybody else in the first 3 rounds over the last 4 drafts, which then itemized, and I won't go through the whole list, but Georgia was first at 25, Alabama was second at 23, and then the next tied for third was LSU and Texas with 13. Which, again, that's a good number compared to most schools, but that's still also a large gap between the top 2 and everybody else.
I also think if you look at it, like the top ACC teams are still noticeably above the top Big 12 teams. Like Miami's almost double what the top Big 12 team had, and they would place in that upper quartile of the SEC or the Big 10, whereas the Big 12, the best Big 12 team would be in the bottom half of the SEC, NFL draft-wise. And it'd be in the bottom, 2/3 of the Big 10.
Yeah, the ACC count also exposes some frustration when Virginia Tech has 5 players selected, second most, only behind Miami. When Cal has 4 players selected, tied for third most. Syracuse also in there with just 4. So Miami, Virginia Tech, Cal, Syracuse, those are your top 4 ACC teams. Only 2 of those teams I feel like you could say cashed in on that NFL talent. That, of course, would be Syracuse with a 10-win season in Fran Brown's debut, and Miami, while they are ultimately frustrated by not playing for an ACC championship, that was a top 10, top 15 team for basically the entire season. You feel like you made the most out of having 1-1 as your quarterback. Just obviously a little disappointed there at the very end. For Texas, I believe this is a record, 12 NFL draft picks total. So the Longhorns The last 2 years, back-to-back college football playoff appearances. Last year, making it all the way to the semifinals in a close break, heartbreaking loss to the eventual national champions. The national champions, Ohio State. I thought they were going to do it. I thought that they were going to make a run and be able to get to 15. They fall one pick short of that record. Ohio State with 14 selections in that draft. All right, before we get to our favorite picks, there was one more from the tailgate. Speaking of the SEC, speaking of Texas, what do we make of the commentary? So Coach K33 jumped in the tailgate, 8:50 a.m. Eastern time. We appreciate you getting the conversation started. He asks, worst decision to go into the draft. Quinn Ewers missed out on a very solid year of NIL to be a 7th round pick. That's right. Quinn Ewers, 7th round selection to the Miami Dolphins. Another slide that is not going to get discussed as much, if not for Shedeur Sanders. If Shedeur Sanders is taken 31st, we might talk about Quinn Ewers a lot more than Shedeur Sanders at this point. Tom, what do you make of where Quinn ended up going and sort of the conversation around it?
I mean, I think it's pretty obvious financially it was the wrong decision, because if you passed up however much you were getting offered by some schools to transfer to end up being a 7th round pick who will not be guaranteed anything, let alone a contract of real value, there's no reason to argue financially it was a good decision. But if you're just done playing in college and you're ready to move on with your life, I don't know.
Right. It's either that or he got bad advice.
Also possible.
Do we think Texas wanted him back?
No, I think Texas was ready to move on.
Yeah.
My understanding of the situation is that when everyone throws around this 4 million number, and that when everybody talks about what he was going to make in NIL if he was going to come back, all of those scenarios are being painted as though he's being paid by someone outside of Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That he goes to the open market. And look, as a college quarterback for the 2025 season, coming off the last couple years that he's had, then I understand why he would be paid top of the market type money in terms of being a college quarterback in 2025. But
I'm trying to give this kid some grace, but like Ryan in the chat's exactly right. He got bad advice. Why else would he have cameras on him starting on day 2 of the NFL draft?
To show off all those
he was
trophies.
Prepared to go round 2, and he went round 7.
Basement looking like Wes Bentley's house.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so it's a lot of showtime. Remember, I talked about in our Friday hangout how much I love the draft temples. And the draft temple doesn't always need to be the one with the like automatic photo shoot, but like I want to see inside your life. Was a lot more disappointed Quinn Ewers maybe than we were expecting to see, but I did like all the trophies on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing here is that a team not wanting you back is not always a guarantee that they're right. Okay. For instance, Oklahoma was cool letting Gabriel walk last year because they planned to play Jackson Arnold, and they did that pretty bad. Kansas State, I think, probably made the right move moving on from Will Howard and getting Avery Johnson a year of development. Even though he didn't play amazing, he was still better than what Howard was giving them, I think. And Howard was a good fit at Ohio State. But it's not always a guarantee that it's going to work. But they should kind of have superior information. Like they should kind of know what they have usually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that is it reasonable to expect that they're going to know?
They get to see every practice. They get to see how you perform on.
No, I'm talking about like the information that the player got, like the idea that Quinn Ewers got bad information.
It's certain. Some teams will make promises. Sometimes agents misread the situation. I mean, they're human beings. They screw up. I will say the silver lining for Quinn is I think he landed in a very good spot for him.
Sure.
To get a chance to make the team because Tua is always getting hurt. So there's a chance if you make the roster, you're not that far away from being on the field. But B, you're in an offense that I think is very well suited to what Quinn is actually good at these days after all the injuries. Like there's a lot of RPO, quick point guard kind of throws. And I think that plays to his strength. So I do think he's got a decent chance of making the team for a 7th rounder.
think that makes sense.
Do you believe in the when you were talking about he's ready to move on? There's got to be some of that, especially if like you're going to come back and deal with more injuries. Like isn't it time to move on? I mean, everyone says get a job to all these 26-year-olds that are still in high level college athletics. Why are we hating on Quinn Ewers for wanting to go get a job?
These kids these days wanting to go work.
Joining the workforce. Come on. It's that bootstraps energy. You know what? I'm high on Quinn Ewers. I like that he believes in himself. Self-confidence. Go and get him, boy. I mean, he at one time, similar to our Carson Beck story, there were times where Quinn Ewers, first-round pick, right? Like he goes and he lights up Michigan's defense in the Big House, and we're like, oh, man, that's what we're talking about. And the injuries, without a doubt, played a role in his performance throughout the rest of the season. But, man, that's a lot of talent to be able to slide. It's a lot. How about this? It's a lot of talent to fall behind those other quarterbacks.
But I also think that plays a part in it, not just performance-wise. It's just he was constantly banged up in college. And if you're constantly banged up in college, odds are you're going to get banged up at the next level too. So it's hard to invest a lot of draft capital in somebody you can't be sure is going to be out there. And again, anybody can get injured, but some people tend to get injured more often than others.
Okay, so from the rain cloud that is injury concerns, let's bring out that sunshine. Let's hear about our favorite picks. All right, favorite picks from the 2025 NFL Draft. Bud, why don't you get us started?
I think Kenneth Grant, pretty interesting. Like if they let him play to what I think he is and not what maybe like his body suggests he is, but like he's more of a penetrator to me. So I think that could really work pretty well. Arizona took like only big name guys.
Yeah.
Or like big school guys. You guys notice that?
Blue chip, like 4 and 5 star guys from power conference programs. Those kinds of draft hauls are the ones that get the blood going for someone like me.
Cincinnati's like draft haul should be developed by the time their receivers retire. So that'll be interesting. Like did you guys look at this? It's like all
fools,
upside only guys. So
yeah,
it could work, but I feel like they kind of need some help right now. Maybe.
I mean, in a draft like this, where you're kind of just there's no real superstars, like maybe shooting for ceiling isn't the worst idea. I don't know if I would do it with every pick like Cincinnati did, but I don't know. Like I can understand it a little bit.
Tom, what were some of your favorites?
I mentioned on the show last week, like the Jalen Noel and the Jalen Lanes and those guys. So I was happy to see them go, even though they went later than I thought they should have. But other favorite picks, just based on where I have them on my board compared to where they went in the actual draft. Benjamin Morris at number 53 to the Bucs. If he was never hurt, I think he was a first-round player. And again, you can't just discount the injury because it does matter. But I do think if he stays healthy the entire time, first-rounder. I love Trey Harris to the Chargers because I think he's kind of exactly what they needed in that offense. And I think that Jackson Dart gets a lot of credit for Trey Harris, whereas maybe it should be, or for what Trey Harris did for Jackson Dart. Jackson gets a little too much credit for that. I loved Tate Ratledge to the Lions. I've been
Dan Campbell's gonna love that man.
Yeah, I've been hyping Tate Ratledge on this show all season, last year, this year. So I love that pick for them. It actually hurt me a little bit. That was like, damn it, the Lions got a good player. I really like Landon Jackson at Arkansas. He's going to Buffalo. That was a 72nd pick. So I really like that for the Bills. They needed pass rush help. And then what I truly, really loved, Kyle McCord going at 181 to the Eagles, because as I mentioned earlier, he was my QB3. And not only that, he went ahead of Will Howard. So I was right all along. Ohio State didn't even upgrade at quarterback. Ha, ha, ha. You won a national championship, but I was right. And then 207, Cameron Williams to the Eagles. Just a typical Eagles pick. I don't think Cameron Williams is going to be a superstar.
But he's a good-ass player.
Cameron Williams will be a good-ass guard in the NFL. And now the Eagles just got him in like the 7th round. So he's just going to be another dude on the Eagles, whereas it's like, oh, one of our guys is hurt. We'll just throw another really good lineman in there after him. And then my favoriteest pick of all, Kyle Monungai to the Bears with the 233rd pick of the draft. Get my little angry bowling ball running for the Bears.
So while I understand that it is incredibly unfair to judge books by their cover, and that they're with context that we can easily understand that, this young man, he grew up in California, right? He started his career at Sacramento State. He played his college ball in Arizona. But if I was to just judge a book by its cover, Cam Scatterbo is an awesome New York Giant.
Yeah.
Like if you were to just see Cam Scatterbo, you'd be like, yeah, that guy is somebody the Giants can wrap their arms. Well, they can't bring him down, but they can at least try to wrap their arms around him and then be bounced off the bowling ball of butcher knives that is Cam Scatterbo. So Cam Scatterbo to the Giants, big fan of that one right there.
I tweeted this when it happened, but Kyle Monangai was the original Cam Scatterbo.
Just who are you guys signed, or who are you guys surprised did not get drafted?
I mentioned him in the group chat. He just came to mind, but Nazir Stackhouse.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's bodies that big that played against a lot of other NFL quality players. That was a surprise. Do you have any like reason other than there were just a lot of interior defensive linemen out there and it's kind of a choose your own flavor? That one was a surprise to me.
Yeah, that was Willie Lampkin.
Yep. Good offensive lineman.
Really surprising we took a shot on him.
Undersized. So if you're just going to go Willie Lampkin's smaller, but he's always been smaller and he's still been super effective.
Yeah. Who am I thinking about now? So, did Jack Sawyer really go undrafted?
No. He went in like the 4th round.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait, the chat was saying he was undrafted. I was like, that's wild. Okay.
Somebody I was high on who went undrafted, Jake Brenningstool, the tight end out of Clemson. I was somewhat surprised there. But I also get it because he's not the most tremendous athlete out there. I think he's a good player. Somebody, who surprised me? Seth McLaughlin.
Not drafted. Yeah.
Not drafted.
That's wild.
That's a good center. I don't
know. I'm curious about Isaac Tesla. Like he did almost nothing at Arkansas. And Arkansas had hyped him like crazy. And I was like, man, I was excited. Petrino knows how to get the ball in his playmakers. A guy like that should be able to run your deep over routes if you're actually that fast. And his production just wasn't there. So like that's kind of a weird disconnect to me. NFL teams see the guys with that kind of stats, doesn't produce in a Petrino offense. They think they can do better. Maybe they can. I don't know. But that's one I want to watch because he got drafted pretty highly.
Tailgate.
Wait, Isaiah Bond went undrafted?
Yeah, I was going to say Tailgate's mentioned in Isaiah Bond.
Is there stuff there?
That did not come as a surprise.
Okay. Yep. Say no more.
Same with Xavier Restrepo.
Probably for very different reasons.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Restrepo ran 4.8. I think like the Titans signing him is awesome because a lot of what you got to do with slot is like being on the same page with your quarterback. And he was
Cam
Ward's bailout guy. Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Cam Ward's like, hey, we should go get him.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Listen, it's just like Joey Burrow and Jamar Chase, right? It's going to be just like that. Isaiah Bond's not being drafted. Not the same. Yeah, that one didn't come up as a huge shock for me.
Theo Weist surprise you at all?
I don't think he ever got faster than he was in high school. Like I think other guys passed him athletically.
It was also these again, NFL teams are smarter than this, or so they would like us to believe. But Burden slipped too.
Tiny hands.
I was fine with that.
Not a good contested catch guy. Like you got to scheme it up for him, but I feel like in that offense they probably will. I think you have to have I think the reward is potentially really good, but I think you have to have some real intentionality with Burden. Like you can't just draft him and be like, go play receiver.
You're going to use him as like a ball carrier who you throw the ball to.
Yes, I think you got to get him touches.
Mm-hmm. Is there a cover curse for college football? The EA game. Three cover athletes. Travis Hunter, number 2 overall. Quinn Ewers, 7th round. Donovan Edwards, undrafted.
Good luck to I would then only ask to be one of the many cover athletes with my back to the camera in this upcoming edition of whatever the NCAA game is. A couple more from the tailgate before we move on to a little bit of portal buzz to close this thing out. Greg, as a Jet fan, I need Bud and Danny's take on Thomas, the cornerback. You will remember since Dagum training camp, Bud's been telling you about AZ Thomas, and now he ends up going to be a New York Jet. Your thought on his fit there in the Meadowlands?
I don't know what the Jets run, but they still have the Cincinnati corner, right?
Yes, Sauce Gardner.
Sauce Gardner.
So AZ's going to get a lot of targets because nobody throws a Sauce Gardner.
And is he ready for it?
I think he'll do well. Yeah.
Okay.
Get ready to work.
Dude, seriously.
And then the Real Coconut said, what players surprised you with how high or low they went non-quarterbacks? And what is your Mel Kiper crash out hill to die on take for the upcoming season?
I mean, I think we kind of discussed with the undrafted guys. We kind of covered the guys we were surprised, how low they went.
Drew Aller will not go first overall.
I
think he starts in the pole position because he's the one we know the most about, but I think there are guys who have better ability.
What player surprised me with how high he went? I'll say Tyler Booker. Not that I don't like him, just 12 for a guard felt high. And then my take that I will die on a hill. I don't really have one yet.
For the upcoming, because later this week, we're going to do 2026 mock draft sort of outlook stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be a little bit on our horizon. If Real Coconut, come join us Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to be getting a little bit more of resorting the NFL draft situation with the upcoming season in mind. I like that Drew Aller. Take right there. He's got it. You go back and you look at the mock draft from this time 1 year ago. I mean, you had Quinn Ewers, you had Shedeur Sanders, you had a lot. You had Luther Burden top 5. There was a different outlook, to say the least.
Mock drafts this far out, by the way, are terrible.
Yes,
like really, legitimately bad.
But please come hang out at 11 a.m. on Wednesday when we show you.
Oh, it's comical.
Also, when Chip and I do an early mock draft with the first pick, when are we doing that?
Thursday.
I think Thursday. Yeah, so you should watch that too, because that will be the one mock draft that's worth seeing.
That's 100% right. And then how about this one from the team perspective? We talk about teams that had a lot. Notre Dame made the national championship game with one top 100 pick. What that mean? I've got thought.
Notre Dame should probably still be pretty decent next year.
Yeah, that's my thought. That's why Notre Dame's on the short list of teams that you would think are going to be in the mix for a national championship going into 2025, because they only had one top 100 pick. They were a very young team. They got ravaged by season-ending injuries, and so a lot of those young players that are all back or all got some burn last year. And Notre Dame played for the national championship in 2024. They are not going anywhere, especially with everybody that's back.
Yeah, I will say, as much as I enjoy seeing like Illini go in the first round of the draft, and a lot of them go the last few years, it was kind of nice only seeing one guy go this year, and not because of the talent, just because you knew, all those guys are back.
Yeah.
But anyway, congratulations to Pat Bryant on being picked by the Broncos.
So I found my mock draft from last year. I'll drop this in the chat. I got 12 out of 32 first rounders correct. That's like so bad, and yet I don't think, I bet you if you go back and you clock other mock drafts around that time, there's probably not a huge difference.
We did pretty good. Like Debo shared with us the one we did last year with Ryan. I thought we did pretty well on it.
Yeah, it's not that bad. Let's see. Won't let me post a link to the chat, I guess. Okay. It's from May 2nd, 2024.
Nice. Well, good job. 12 out 30. 12 out 30.
But some of these are comically bad, by the way.
Like what?
Isaiah Bond, undrafted. Mm-hmm. That's pretty terrible. A couple of these guys missed by a little bit, so I'm like, okay, that's fine. Obviously Quinn Ewers went 7th round. Will Johnson, probably with the injury, would have been okay. Carson Beck. This is a pretty good example, by the way, of not being married to these quarterbacks who are known commodities as opposed to really great commodities.
Right. and that goes into your Drew Aller is probably going to start in the pole position, but the pole position for quarterbacks in the NFL draft cycle, it's not cursed like the video game, but it's at least, very often going to be supplanted. Like winning the September Heisman is, whoever is the Heisman Trophy favorite on October the 5th, very, very unlikely is going to end up just because of the way this machine goes and the way we pick apart whoever's at the top and get excited by whoever hasn't gotten as much attention along the way.
Luca asks, who are the pass rushers to look out for? I don't think the best pass rusher to look out for will be able to enter the draft next year. There's my take. Colin Simmons is the best pass rusher in college football next season, but he can't go to the NFL yet.
Do you guys have?
I was doing a Clemson. I was looking at Clemson earlier. Clemson only had 3 players drafted. I think they're going to have multiple first rounders next year.
How many do they have? I've seen people say 4. I don't think Antonio Williams is the first rounder.
I'm saying multiple is all I'm going to hang my hat on right now. TJ Parker though would be part of that pass rusher conversation. So we'll see what kind of season he has. We'll see all of his testing and how all of that ends up going. But all right. Anything else draft related? Again, we'll do 2026 mock draft stuff on Wednesday.
In here.
I think the draft is fun.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Although I don't know, I feel sorry for all the people that had to spend like a weekend in Green Bay. Like, you'll notice how everybody was already in Green Bay colors, because who the hell's traveling to Green Bay?
Although, there's got to be some good golf up around there this time of year, right? Like
there's some great golf in Wisconsin. If I'm in Wisconsin, that's where I would be. Not in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Program, use Chat GPT, Chat GPT, a live blog analyst, that you can just have running there in Lambeau Stadium while you're out there. Is Green Bay close to? Isn't Whistling Straits? That's
Whistling Straits is in Wisconsin. It's not really close to Green Bay, but yeah.
We got it. All right. Coming up on the other side, they're taking a look at some of the portal buzz from over the weekend and so much more. Next.
Get ready.
Wait a second. I thought we were going tubing.
All 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and Knuckles are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
And everyone loves it.
Every adventure.
Just try to keep up.
Every face-off.
This ends now.
And every moment that will have you saying,
Where have you been? My entire life!
It's showtime!
all 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and the entire Sonic universe are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
Back here on the Cover 3 podcast. Yes, the portal closed on Friday. We still have a few pieces falling out in terms of players finding their landing spot. A couple questions from the tailgate. We got Brad, jumped in at 8:26 a.m. Eastern time. He said, Cover 3, let's go. Miami making solid moves, adding wide receiver Keelan Marion. What do we think about that offense this upcoming season? And does it mean no excuses for Carson Beck? Over under 10 wins for Miami. Wow, Brad, that's a lot to offer. I'm glad you're fired up about your Canes, though.
That's a good question.
So
I think that they should be pretty excited about Marion, receiver from BYU. They needed a lot, I think. So, that's obviously they needed a lot. I think 10 wins is a good number. The schedule's a cakewalk again. So they should be more talented than every team they play, except for maybe the Irish. And they get them early in South Florida. So, if I'm a Miami fan, I do go into every game expecting to win. And then I remember my coach's crystal ball, so we might have a slip up, but it the roster building being done, I think gives you a chance to win everyone.
So
in the chat says they signed Bert Auburn, the kicker.
Yep.
Hope you're not in any close games late.
Man, Bert Auburn started his career as being reliable. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That leg.
I started my life as being reliable too. And look at me now.
Well, I was never flexible. Okay. So sometimes things don't change. Miami does play SMU. Miami does play Florida. Miami does play Louisville. And while it is likely that Miami has more raw talent than those teams, I do not think the gap is such that you can comfortably say they cannot fall down into a situation of getting caught in a dogfight with an SMU, with a Louisville, or with a Florida. 10 wins is a fair expectation. I would not say cakewalk for the schedule. I would say that it's at least challenging enough that you have to entertain those as being games that you could lose without it being an upset.
I mean,
if you're massive upset.
Which games we saying now? Notre Dame, Florida, obviously.
Louisville and SMU.
SMU loses a lot. You get Louisville at home after losing an NFL draft quarterback. I think if I'm a Miami fan, knowing what they spend, I think I expect like those games are not within reach now.
Put me down as under if we're actually just doing we will put our name to it.
I mean, it's
later on.
It's 8.5, like minus 190 over. So,
9-3 is the sort of projected outcome here.
I got him going 16-0. So
it's like 9 minus 130 to the over plus 100. Yeah. Okay.
So is it no excuses for Carson Beck? Is that fair? Like there is enough that has been restocked here. We know the offensive line was good, turned over some of the receiver positions, lose a ton without Xavier Strepo. This piece of it, to Brad's question, the addition of Marion through the transfer portal, does that mean that Carson Beck should be able to go out there and execute to his abilities if healthy?
You'd think so, but you never know what he's going to catch.
Okay. No excuses to not do what? Can we baseline this? Like, no excuses not to be a top 2 quarterback in the ACC?
I hope so. Like, if he's not a top 2 QB in the ACC after what they've invested in him to go out and do, that's a problem.
I think he'll have all day to throw in a lot of these games. I mean, that offensive line should be dynamite. I mean, how many teams have pass rushers on this thing who scare you?
Oh,
Irish, potentially Florida. I think that's it.
I think that's it too.
So in 10 or 12 games, he should be pretty clean. Like jersey-wise. Just will the operation be clean?
Yeah, we'll see. And then also Connor says, Syracuse going after practically every position in the portal. Not a good sign. Lost a ton of talent and have a very difficult schedule. After a 10-win season, is bowl eligibility on the line? Hell yeah it is.
Yeah. I mean, this is...
I mean, we're not laughing at Syracuse. Or Connor, but like, yes, you 100% are correct. We need to have a myopic view of the 2025 season for the Syracuse Orange, not as the building block off a 10-win season, because we are starting back at go and we don't have $200. Like, we are very much dealing with a tougher schedule, an exodus of talent, flipping over the roster. And right after writing a story for CBSSports.com about this coaching staff and portal additions, they lost Zeed Haynes to the transfer portal. I mean, just exits left and right. It'll be interesting. Interesting season for the Orange.
Yeah. I think there is a bit of Scott Satterfield thing going on here with Fran Brown. And I don't mean to compare those as coaches at all. Simply the situations you took over, right? You inherited a nice formula for year one. You had a cakewalk of a schedule for year one, and you won a lot of close games in year one. Some of those important guys left. You didn't keep some of your other dudes, right, who you needed. The roster is not great, and the schedule now gets a whole lot harder. So I like what Fran Brown is building at Syracuse. Like, I'm not blowing smoke here. This is not be nice before you say something mean. I think he's doing a good job. I think he actually is building this up. But perceptionally, if that's a word, he's going to have to fight.
He is now.
He's going to say, look, man, we didn't take that big of a step back as a team. We just got a little bit worse due to who we lost. A lot of my guys weren't here yet, and the schedule got a whole lot tougher. If this is how it plays out, I think their over/under win total is like 4.5. No, it's 5.5.
5.5. Yeah. I mean, so in that sense, Connor, bowl eligibility is on the line. Like, that is the bet for this season. Right. So, and we will be.
I mean, they play Tennessee. Like, you can't be losing at home to UConn.
They've got Tennessee and Notre Dame on the non-conference schedule when their non-conference schedule was a cakewalk last year, and their conference schedule, after avoiding all the big dogs, now includes both a Clemson and an SMU, both of the teams that played for the ACC championship last season.
I think their range of outcomes
And Miami.
I think their range of outcomes is actually a little bit more narrow than a team with the 5.5 win total normally would be. And here's why. Like the games that they play that they'll be underdogs in, they're all like big dogs in, I think. And all of those are on the road with the exception of, is Tennessee playing at Syracuse, like in the Dome?
No, that's a neutral.
So that's a neutral. Okay. So
I'll give
here's
you
their home games. Okay. UConn, Colgate, Duke, Pitt, UNC, Boston College. Every single one of those games is very winnable.
Sure.
And they might be favored in all 6 of their actual home games. Their games away from the Dome, though, Tennessee, Clemson, SMU, Georgia Tech, which is probably the easiest road game they have, which says something about this schedule, Miami, Notre Dame. Like this team really, it probably won't because it's not how things work out, but they easily could go 6-0 at home and 0-6 on the road.
Tennessee, Syracuse, the Big Body Benz in Atlanta. That is the Atlanta-based kickoff game for week number 1. But any other portal action that you've got your eyes on or that stood out to you?
Really, I don't think the spring portal was very good. Florida State picks up Halsey, the corner from Houston. Like that's actually legitimately a pretty good get. Somebody they had to pay for, and somebody who I think will come in and start at corner. So I know they're happy about that. Overall, it sucks for Houston. Obviously, they've lost a lot of good players to the portal this year, which I think will hurt Willie Fritz's rebuild a little bit. Everybody else, though, I'm not really overwhelmed by the talent in the portal.
What about Trevor Payne to Penn State?
Is that official now?
I believe it. Is it not?
There's a lot of stuff going on working with that.
Oh, okay.
It's 58 minutes. Assuming it's true, what do you make of it?
Let's confirm it right now.
Assuming it happens. Penn State,
really good college player. Probably not a freaky athlete, but somebody who can reliably get open for Drew Aller. I like it.
I think Penn State went after wide receivers in this portal. That was the goal. Is we are going to go and we are going to level up pass catchers because so many other spots on the field have been addressed with veteran presence, with continuity, and dadgummit, if you're going to have a spot where we are going to just have a plug and play player, being a wide receiver, that's something that you can definitely do it. So I think that's a good continuation of what already seemed to be like a very intentional moves by James Franklin and that offensive coaching staff. What'd you guys think of the Sunday morning feature?
He's your coach. What did you think of it? Or should we just say we're not talking about that?
I need to add that to the board.
We're not talking about that.
We're not.
Yes, that needs to be on the board.
Yeah.
I will. Yeah. Talked about it before the show a little bit. Like when we discussed this a couple weeks ago on the show, I was very much in this is kind of just tabloidish. We only care because he's older and she's younger. After watching the CBS Sunday Morning, I have flipped my opinion of this, and I'm a bit concerned.
I think that there was a part of the decision to wear the Old Navy uniform that was going to be charming.
With a hole in it?
I think, unfortunately, the hole in it and the nature of how everything looked did not add to the aesthetics of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, on the football side of things, North Carolina has been very active in this spring portal window. They are, but tell me, I'm not going to put you on the spot here. Maybe you can circle back to this. We'll have plenty of time to talk about these rosters going into the weekend. But 50 players have left the program since the end of last season. 28 incoming portal additions, and a few of them I think have even added to that number. At a lot of places, I am seeing mid-tier power conference exit, mid-tier power conference addition, where I'm not seeing a huge change in the talent level. And my assumption is that it is whether or not you buy into the program, whether you want to be a part of the program, whether this is something that you lose Bo Atkinson. I forgot the pass rusher that they got. Then they bring in another edge rusher from a power conference team. It does seem to be a little bit of, flavors, but we'll see by the time we actually get into action, when they face TCU on Labor Day night.
We have this one guy who keeps chirping us about Bo Atkinson on Twitter. And I'm like, dude, he had 7.5 sacks last year. They came against UConn, FSU, UVA, and James Madison. He had no sacks in the other games. Those 4 teams probably had the worst offensive lines you played all year.
He's
a good player. He's well rated in the 24/7 Sports Transfer Portal.
Is it an Ohio State fan? Because on the
yes.
Okay,
yeah, it's a big Ohio State guy. He's like, this is evidence.
An Ohio State fan being irrational. Come on.
Yeah, I looked. He tweeted us so many times. I looked it up. I was like, yeah, I like Bo Atkinson. He also completely feasted on awful teams that were falling apart. So,
and you know what? And if
you don't, you'll see some of that at the bottom of the Big Ten.
And if Bo Atkinson came to North Carolina with an Ohio State offer and was like, hey guys, what do you think? North Carolina's probably not matching that.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but that roster continues to be in flux. It will be interesting because for all the conversation of what's happening up in the castle and all of your palace intrigue, football is going to be decided by the players on the field this fall. So we will, we'll get into more of that as the offseason gets rolling. Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. We are going to give you a look at the way too early 2026 mock draft outlook, which can tell us a few things. Number one, sort of the way these players stack up against each other at the beginning of the NFL draft cycle. But number two, can kind of highlight what teams this fall are rolling into the season with a lot of upperclassmen that are viewed as some of the best around from the NFL and more. So come hang out, 2026 mock draft chatter on Wednesday, 11 a.m. Eastern time. And you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fornelli. You can follow him at Bud Elliott 3. You can follow me at Chip _Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.